Today we're going to go over a full lower body warm-up with Joey. So doing all the things you need to get your hips feeling good, knees feeling good, foot, ankle feeling good before a leg day. We're kind of break it down into a few different parts. We're going to look at passive warm-up, we're going to look at active static, active dynamic, and then integrating it into something that we're going to do in our actual like A1 spot for the first lift of the day. So first one here is going to be a passive warm-up. Some of his favorites is going to be couch stretch. So just stretching the anterior hip, getting into better hip extension, making sure he's keeping a stacked core right here so that we're not getting a lumbar extension as opposed to hip extension. So you see he's kind of like crunching over a little bit, making sure that he's not just compensating through his low back.
For someone like me that generates a lot of torque, a lot of forces around their hip, also could put a lot of strain on their lower back. Psoas, rec fem, so quads getting stretched out, psoas getting stretched out, psoas where it inserts on the lower back, making sure that everything's just kind of loosened up around here.
So looking at kind of our first checklist here, we're looking at like passive, so clearing up some movement at the hip. So let's think about, are we lacking ER? Are we lacking IR at the hip? Are we lacking extension at the hip? Next one we're looking at here is going to be 90-90. So you see Joey's holding a kettlebell. That's going to pull him and his back hip into IR. He's kind of passively just stretching that. Another thing you can do is you can hug a med ball while you're doing it. And the next thing we're going to look at is if you lack ER, what are some passive stretches we can get into to improve ER? So we're going to look at pigeon stretch. Actively just force that front leg into some better external rotation. All right, so talking the next checkpoint here, we're looking at active static warm-ups. So right here, Joey's in the Angel Copenhagen plank. Especially when he kicks, he kind of biases external rotations. We're trying to get him better at holding that position with a more neutral leg. So getting not necessarily internal rotation, but just actively holding a neutral position at the upper or at the femur. Some other things for active static, I would look at either the hip or the rib cage. Look at the rib cage, another example of like an active static warm-up. We just have to controlling the pelvis, getting to a plank position, and then we can move that into something to the next checkpoint, which is active dynamic. So that could be moving like a plank into a bear crawl, maintaining that pelvis position. For active dynamic for Joey, he likes to do like a hip airplane, like a walking lunge with a sprinter pose. Something where we're actually like actively moving through full like external rotation, flexion, extension at the hip. The last thing we can do is integrate it into our first movement for the day. So today it's going to be front foot elevated split squat. If it's like a squat day, you can see Joey was doing like counterbalance squats. So integrate it into a movement that's going to be closely resembling whatever your main exercises are for the day. So whether that be here, our front foot elevated split squat, which is actually our A1 for the day, or it could be a counterbalance squat, which we're going to do pendulum squats as well. So integrating it into a pattern that's going to be more closely resembling your first movements for the day.
So our like A1 integration, plyo into our warm-up, we're gonna go ahead and do band assisted jumps, getting more into like a quarter squat into almost a full squat. Just working a little bit further into the plyo. We originally started off with just kind of ankle hops, band assisted, worked into ankle hops without the band assisted. So now we're progressing into a little bit more knee flexion and knee extension in the exercise. Getting kind of the overtraining of jumping a little bit higher than we're used to, but being able to decelerate from greater heights, but using the band to assist us to get into those positions. Then we'll progress that into body weight, repeat, vertical jumps. It's kind of going back and forth between body weight, band assisted, body weight, band assisted. We've been progressing this as a skill exercise, getting me better at internal rotation and hip extension on my back leg. With me kicking, I get into a lot of hip flex, external rotation. Can cause some pain, some discomfort down my lower leg. So getting into better delayed heel strike, talked about a couple times in like gate cycle. We're doing this to get me into better positions there, take some of the force and be able to decelerate better through my left leg. We worked this skill exercise, the progression has been ipsilateral, so same arm, same foot, contralateral, opposite arm, opposite foot, into bilateral, so kettlebells in both hands. The reason why we did this for the first couple weeks of doing this, the skill part of it was maintaining different positions. Ipsilateral was getting us more into internal rotation. The contralateral was helping us fight anti-rotation. So now we're getting into a bilateral. This is our ability to load it. So now get in that position, get strong in that position. So bilateral is going to have the greatest ability to load it. We can grab more weight on the kettlebells. We're a little bit more balanced. We're not finding any type of balance issues of either the obliques, core trying to stabilize, or the weight being just one side loaded. So now that's bilateral. We can go ahead and load it pretty heavy, get strong at this movement, but these suck. So go ahead, about 2 sets, 6 to 8 reps. Start loading it more as a skill.
Good, 2. Push back more. Back, back, back. There you go.
Pendulum squat's going to be a little bit better for us to get into knee flex, knee extended position. Just kind of based off the way the machine moves. Our progression throughout our entire kind of off-season program for me specifically has been trying to get me out of more of a hip extended squat and more into a knee flexed position, get better in the bottom part of my squat movement, and start relying more on my quads going through knee extension versus just relying so heavily on getting to a position where I can just extend my hips. So it's going to help with overall mass, strength in the quad, as well as kind of knee health, anything else like that. So.
Money. Let's go, come on. 2 more. Don't bitch out, 1 more. 1 more. Drive out of the hole. Drive, 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 drive. Come on. Okay. That looked fun. Wasted. I'm still breathing hard.
Dude, yeah. Our heart rate is at 148 from a pendulum squat 5 minutes ago. So we got C1, seated hamstring curl, getting in a hip flex position. So when we're doing knee flexion, we're getting into a little bit more internal rotation. Great for kind of semi-mem on the hamstrings. Dude, I'm doing 205 for a warm-up, baby.
Two more. 9. Finish, 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 finish. Here for the seated hamstring curl with our feet. What we're gonna do with my toes, I'm not gonna point them away. I'm gonna pull them towards me as I go. So as I'm curling, I want toes straight, toes towards me. This dorsiflex position. All that's doing, your calves cross the knee joint. So put them in the active insufficiency. So lengthen them, give a little bit better stability to the knee. So our calves also flex the knee joint. Not a very strong flexor, but they do flex the knee joint. So we kind of put them in a position where, in the lengthened position, they're going to stabilize the knee better, but also they're not going to contribute to the movement as much. All you. Don't be a bitch. Finish.
Dude, I can't get my leg to go down.
You're so soft.
I'm being a. You see me? I'm sitting there in just a limp dick position, bro.
Our D1 exercise today is going to be this assisted good morning. It's externally stable, so we get a lot more of our stability from the machine towards the end of our workout. We're fatigued in a lot of our kind of like stabilizing muscles, so something that you can load easily, get into the position you want without sacrificing a lot of stability is good to throw towards the end of your workout. So we also have this in contrast to our heavy hinge day, where we're anteriorly loaded. This is going to put us into a posterior loaded position. So weights on the back of us, stabilizing more through the erectors. Not worrying as much about the lat stabilizing the lower back, but as much as the muscles that actually stabilize. So just to recap, lower body day. Started off with our skill exercise. To recap our lower body day, started off with some plyos, getting into a progression of that. So getting into a little bit more knee flexion there. Inter-rotation extension on the back hip when we're doing our front foot elevated split squat. Worked into our pendulum squat. Again, a lot more knee bendy, knee extension, knee flexion exercise. Seated hamstring curl, working inter-rotation of the hip through knee flexion. Going into a very simplistic, posteriorly loaded good morning, and then finishing up with some seated calf raises. So different positions that we're working. A couple changes in our programming from our last video that we posted in our lower body day like this, just to progress this more in our programming, getting us into better positions and continually loading ourselves in positions that we're finally getting better at. So yeah, check out the YouTube videos. Send us any comments, questions, anything like that. You guys have any questions about training, exercises, anything like that, just let us know. Comment down below. We'll get back to you guys. And I appreciate it. Peace.